It's Illuminastic in the Amazon rainforest, still, hopefully forever. I've got some interesting stories for you tonight. Excuse the mess behind me that's mostly diapers. Let me get this computer together real quick. All right, so I don't have a lot of time. I was late because I'm cooking medicine. Look at this, you guys. It is an ancient vine. People are in for it. That is just so huge and gnarly. So, yeah, I'm facilitating at Magia Verde here in Misahualli, which is mostly Quechua community. Although, and this is going to be a really crazy story, man. The Warani live right down the river. And I didn't realize that when I came here. We didn't really come here on purpose. We were planning to go to meet a Shuar guy, as some of you probably know, near Puyo. And I'm not really even sure what happened, but we just kind of got diverted. And we were very, very tight on money, partly because I put everything we didn't need immediately into crypto accounts. And there were some unexpected expenses and some things didn't work out. And so we were starting to get kind of low on funds, and I was kind of worrying because I really didn't want to take that crypto out because April is a month we've been waiting for. And so we first rented for a week at Sinchiwarmi, which I would totally recommend. It's a place that was started by 12 Quechua women and 3 men, and now there are 20 women involved, and it's a beautiful property. They're very nice people. Absolutely a wonderful community. The indigenous people here are very, very sweet. It's an incredible place to be. I like it way more than any other part of Ecuador that I've been to. And you know, the monkeys help. Today I think I saw a monkey slapping the shit out of a bufo toad, which was simultaneously really sad and also totally hilarious. We got it on video. The toad was not injured, and there's some dispute about whether bufo toads live here or not. I know I'm veering off subject, but there's some dispute about whether bufo toads live here or not. There's a cane toad. I think it's a bufo canis instead of alvarus or whatever. I'm not a toad expert. But I was thinking, man, that kind of looks like a bufo toad, and the monkeys they would slap it and it would go flying through the air and land. And they don't eat meat, these capuchins here. And so, man, I was just really worried they were going to kill it, you know. But they were like cats, just swatting it around. And eventually, it escaped under a log. And when the monkeys were gone, I went and pulled the toad out, and sure enough, it had white secretions on both sides, which of course the cane toads do that as well. So it's not for sure that it was a bufo toad. I mean, it was a bufo toad, but whether it was that bufo toad or not, I'm not sure. And it should be noted that there are definitely rumors that the bufo toad is here. So I got video of that. I'll post it. I'm gonna make like a monkey compilation because I've had them on my head. They'll just drop out of the trees, land on your head, start pulling your hair. They'll steal anything that's not tied down. And this particular breed of monkey, they're not really like friendly even to each other. They're kind of like, not really solitary, you know, they live in troops still, but they're not like, they don't like groom each other or play or anything. They're just always kind of trying to steal shit, you know, and pushing. They'll walk up to people and shove them like a person. Like, in case you're wondering, that is totally primate behavior. So anyways, we ended up, going to Tina one day, and we're thinking, man, we really need to find like a cheaper place to rent so that we can keep our money in the crypto. And we go to this place called Magia Verde, and the guy says, you know, well, my facilitator just left, and so he needed a facilitator. And the place is beautiful. We're gonna make a video, like a promo video, and I'll put it up in a couple of days. And so there were some issues though, because there are lagoons around a lot, and the stairs, you know, they're like cabins and small rooms, and also still expensive. We're still spending a lot of money. So we go to town, and there's a Spanish restaurant, and so we go there to eat, and the guy that owns it I don't even know how this came up, but he just basically said, "Hey, there's a lady that has a house in town that's for rent," and so we were like, "Oh, well, that would be good to contact her," and so we did, and she gave us the house for free, like no maintenance, no deal, just there's the puppy that we have to watch. Um, so what I'm really getting at here, you guys, is that once upon a time, a wise man told me your success will be your proof. And I don't know that we can really lay claim to like wild success. I mean, COVID has definitely put a hitch in our giddy up. That's some old cowboy way of saying, it's been like what do you call it, like a stumbling stone. Um, so, I don't want to misrepresent anything, but I'm always talking about how I feel like if you're on your highest path and you are pursuing, um, you're dedicated to what you really love and what you're really good at. Yeah, I thought the puppy was a bonus too. He's a sweet dog. He's probably right behind me somewhere. He's a Labrador Greyhound. Um, that things just kind of work out in remarkable ways. And I think that for me, to be someone who's always wanted to visit the Amazon and live, to find myself randomly in this tiny little indigenous town 30 miles from the tribe that I read about the most as a child. Um, I mean, our only neighbor, well, we have two. We have a Warani woman that dresses traditionally, orange face paint, 8-foot spear, all the time, walked around town like this. Um, and another couple. But, one of our neighbors is, Warani woman. And and this was like one of the main tribes that I read about as a child that kind of got me through my childhood. So to find myself kind of like randomly deterred into this community right next to this tribe, and the Warani are one of the least contacted. I think the contact was made for the first time in 1993, and this is a crazy story too. I mean, this is how the universe. Well, let me just explain. So, and this is one of the most well-known. This is what the Warani. This incident is what the Warani are known for mostly, but they're very little studied. Partly because they traditionally have been pretty hostile, and the curare darts. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's their thing. So missionaries were coming to the jungle. There are still missionaries here, right across from Machia Verde, where I'm facilitating. There are missionaries on the hill, right across the river. They're still coming here and messing with people. So uh, so they had landed already once, and they had made peaceful contact with the Warani. And as they were leaving, remember this was the early 90s, somebody thought that it would be cute to snap a Polaroid picture. And so they left. Yeah, Catholic missionaries, of course. Um, they left, and then when they returned, before the plane landed, while it was landing, they dropped a bucket with a Polaroid picture of the Warani people in the bucket, and when they landed, the Warani killed every single one of them. Everyone on the plane, including the pilot, speared them. And trust me, these spears are they're incredibly long. It's unbelievable to think that they would throw them. That they're physically capable of throwing them. Um, so, but in case you haven't grokked this yet, the really wild part of it is that the reason that the Warani killed them for taking the picture is that they thought that they had stolen their souls. And of course, people would laugh and say, oh, well, these ridiculous savages thought that their souls had been stolen. And the reality is that the missionaries had come to trap their souls. And the Polaroid was just a physical, like almost like a metaphor for what was happening in this situation. And I think that kind of ability to read circumstances in the universe is legitimate, and that's what was happening in that case. I don't think it's literally that they. Although I have to tell you guys, man, when the woman said, "Do you want to take a picture with me?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I do want to take a picture with you. But the story gets even better. So the first encounter with Warani we had when we got here. Um, Seriously though, you guys, like I come to the Amazon looking to facilitate, and we just basically get lost and end up with a nice like it's literally the only Gringo house in the community. There's a washer, Wi-Fi, hot water. And it's and the guy that owns Magia Verde told me that it's indeed the only gringoed house in Misahualli. Um, I would imagine there's probably at least one other. Maybe he doesn't know about it, but it's true that it's very uncommon, and it's like 15-minute walk to where I'm facilitating. So it's just and then I discovered that the Warani people from the books are here, and I heard that they were downriver, but then the other night I went to town and there were literally like naked Warani children and Warani women dressed traditionally, and you can tell interacting with them that they really do live in the jungle and that they're not. I don't know what word to use. It is very much like some Hollywood movie scene interacting with them as like a modernized person. Uh, and as I said, the language is pretty much totally unstudied and it is modernized. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Um, so yeah, that has not happened to them. They're still as they have been more or less for thousands of years. So pretty incredible. But okay, so here's the story of the first interaction with the Warani people. We we were walking around in town, and this woman that has turned out to be our neighbor, she doesn't actually live in the village. Some of them have left the jungle. Not very many. She's like the only Warani person. Everyone else is Quechua. And the Quechua are very much modernized. They're very Catholic, a lot of them. The Shuar have been Catholicized too. I remember a week or so ago, a guy who was married to a Shuar woman told me, but the Shuar and the Warani haven't been conquered, so they're still totally in touch with their um, culture. But then a young Shuar boy came around the corner wearing a Jesus T-shirt, and I was like, "You're looking pretty conquered to me, dude." You know what I mean? That's definitely not a sign of unconqueredness in my book. But at any rate, uh, we we're walking along, and we meet this woman with a large spear and the orange face paint, and I recognize her as Warani. And she says to us, she sees my son, whose name is Nagual. Nagual is a Nahuatl word, basically Incan, and it is a spirit that transforms into either a wolf or a jaguar. And um, she says to us, your son's name should be Camperi, which is Warani for jaguar. And so that was pretty trippy. Um, I was like, oh, I see you drink a lot of ayahuasca. Um, so, uh, yeah, I mean, that's basically catching up to where we are all of a sudden in the deep jungle. Every day is amazing because there are always insects um, that I've never seen before. There are plants that I've never seen before every single day. Um, the I don't want to get too deep into this because it's not a topic for tonight and I don't have time. But the COVID impact is definitely something that I am still very much personally determined to help to mitigate as much as I can. And it's pretty it's difficult. I mean, we don't have a ton of money, but still, as Americans, relative to the kind of poverty we see here, um, it's very difficult to keep money in my pocket because we are just always, we drive in the bus by families that are out, trying to make their money for a meal for the day, and they have a table set up with like 7 oranges or something, and they want 10 cents a piece for them. And it's a difficult thing to witness, but it's also inspiring that people are so happy and friendly and kind and generous, regardless of the oppression. The level of, or the lack of resentment, I guess, that I sense, especially with the indigenous people here, has definitely surprised me. I mean, I realize it's been a while since the conquistadors or whatever, but it's still an ongoing thing, and it's just every day is very powerful and intense. And also, as far as like the mainstream culture in Ecuador goes, I think I mentioned in the description I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a facilitator, and it's something I haven't done in over a year. I discovered that while my partner was pregnant, I had too much fear to really do my job. I was too distracted, and the medicine, every time I drank it, would tell me that there was something wrong with them, and I would kind of panic. And you can't be panicking if you're trying to hold ceremony for people. And it did turn out that it was in fact true, but it was not an issue in the moment. It was something that happened at Nagwal's birth. Um, so it's only recently that I felt not only physically well enough, but also were stable enough that I feel like I can resume um, holding ceremony and taking responsibility for that. And the first one was maybe 2 nights ago, which is crazy. I want to mention this as well, that I do think that the universe is a giant mind. Fernando, I didn't miss your question. I'll get there. Um, but I think that just like a person has to establish patterns, has to establish habits. If Here's the example. At Mahia Verde, he said that when we walked up onto the property, he said, "You're the first people that have been here in a year." And since then, it's been full. And they're not Americans. So if you're thinking like, oh, well, it's just because people have their COVID money, that's not it. Because, there's South African people. There were this couple that came for ayahuasca were Ecuadorian. And it was so rewarding for me because it was their first psychedelic experience of any kind. And it was very difficult to get any effect for them. And I have some theories about that. I'm not a huge adherent to the dieta because it is largely a pop culture. Um, the dieta traditionally was something that shamans would do diet with specific plants and specific foods if they had a specific purpose, or a patient might do it if they had a specific thing to heal. But a lot of the prohibitions, I guess, I'm saying, aren't really necessary, and they're not really traditional. And what actually happened is that foreigners were dying and no one knew why, so they made them just abstain from everything for a few weeks before consuming ayahuasca. And I know that, and I've experimented with it myself. And I know that a lot of the things they tell you, well, if you eat this, you'll have no effect, makes absolutely no difference. None whatsoever that I can tell. And but what I think I have discovered is for sure that someone that has eaten a lot of artificial processed foods, ayahuasca it's very, very difficult to get an effect for them. And these two, I couldn't believe the quantities that I had to have them consume in order to, and it was interesting because even after their pupils dilated and they vomited, they were still very obviously not really connecting with that space. And eventually they did. And the thing that really got me is that like later on in the night, as things were starting to wind down, we started to just kind of talk, and some of the comments that they made about how it was so nice to be able to talk without the judgment of Catholics around and just to speak openly. And the stuff that we were discussing was not really that outrageous or revolutionary. Um, and it just really hit me that I'm in a place that is like, the mainstream is like 1950s Bible Belt United States. There has been no psychedelic revolution. Um, So for example, for this young couple, this was like a major. It's like the chains of indoctrination and programming and the influence of the religious institutions. Like the chains are just like plink 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 gone. And they're asking me, well, what do we do about it? How do we change the world? And I'm telling them, well, try to buy some crypto, but watch out who you buy it from. Don't get Bitcoin because it uses too much energy, and stop eating processed foods. And I was telling them things like, the Ecuadorian government has just sold 2/3 of the rainforest. They had no idea, and they've lived in Ecuador their entire lives, and this is the first time they'd stepped foot in the Amazon. So I'm really realizing that it's a huge opportunity for me to go back to the place where the medicine that is curing, or that is at least starting to cure, or at least helping my sick society, to go back to the ancestors of the people that gave it to us, and sort of give them what it gave us, because they have been disconnected from um, that consciousness as well. And so, I mean, that is just a priceless gift for me to bring this back to the people that gave it to us. Okay, and now Fernando was asking. Let me read this one more time. As far as the universe having a will, I mean, I don't think that that's necessarily the way I would describe it. I don't. It's. I think that obviously I don't believe that the universe is dead, blind, totally deterministic, probabilistic, random, um, gobbledygook. Darwin didn't actually think that. He said the human eyeball refuted it thoroughly. That there was no way that the human eyeball could randomly achieve the level of complexity that was required in order for it to function. That just, he's like, that pretty much blows my theory to smithereens. It just doesn't work in the face of just that. you know. So at the same time, I obviously don't think that there's like a God sitting up in the clouds or whatever, like judging and planning. And I think that on one level, it can actually all be reduced to math. So when I talk about how I believe that if you are following your highest purpose and your true will, it sounds maybe like I'm delving more into the woo fountain than I really am, because I don't have a totally clear conception of what this is exactly, but it's enough to say that the symmetry in the God, Terrence McKenna said this once. I remember him going on about the symmetry, um, but the symmetry, or the organizing principle, um, is enough to understand how the universe can configure itself, or that we can establish relation with circumstances and events in order to create the kind of modality of being that I'm describing. I think that even the capacity for the subconscious mind to map patterns, because the universe is fundamentally constructed on repeating patterns, and I think that those patterns are extremely complex, and they exist in every order of, or they are inextricably intertwined, or they are the foundation and basis for all the phenomenology. And so we can put ourselves into a sort of lockstep with it, and it's not even necessarily a conscious thing. The subconscious mind is detecting these patterns, figuring out how to relate to them, and it's a sort of balance of establishing communication between the subconscious and conscious mind. This is one of the great advantages of the psychedelic experience. Regions of the brain that normally don't communicate are communicating heavily during the experience, and I don't know that this has been tested and studied, but I would expect that people that have had these experiences, particularly people that have had a number of these experiences over a number of years, probably retain communication between the default network of the brain and the other parts that it's not they're not normally communicating. And I think that for example, brain scans have shown us that there is electrical activity in parts of the brain that we don't normally use in any other circumstance. And I don't think I think I know what that means, probably, like what that electrical activity is signifying, or what it's indicating. I think that a lot of the sixth sense type perceptions. Also, I think it lends credence to Dennis McKenna's ideas that there's a sort of reducing valve in our consciousness, and that the psychedelics turn it off to varying degrees, and different maybe frequencies are allowed in depending on which compound you've consumed. So I think that the fact that we have seen this electrical activity in normally unused parts of the brain uh, um, indicates that that is true. That this reducing valve has indeed been turned off or turned down, and we're not only do we have cross connectivity in normally non-communicative regions of the brain, but we're also actually using more of the brain, um, and so we probably have cross connectivity with regions of the brain we don't even normally use. So I think that the gains in neurological capacity that can be attained for a person that is using psychedelics properly um, are probably exponentially greater even than a lot of the exponents currently realize. So let's see, what else do we have on our agenda? Because I have to keep this short because I have to make all this medicine for for ceremony in a couple of days. I don't have a ton of time. The universe has a tendency to reward resonance and harmony rather than chaos and dissonance. Not because it has a preference. That's just a organic consequence of um, order. That's the case, and I think that it's really consciousness that creates the circumstances that um, yield reward from that order and harmony. So, what else did I say we were going to talk about? Let me look here. Uh, Covered improbable coincidences, Warani people, and you guys feel free to ask questions in the chat. Also, I want to tell you guys to please hit the like button, share, subscribe. One thing I wanted to mention, I'm not trying to insinuate that people are obligated to act in this way, or criticize anyone that doesn't. But there's this in the spiritual community, people are always saying, like, we're all one, and that you need to increase compassion and empathy. And I'm not trying to float my own boat, but we're down here, barely making it, and giving 20% of our income away to refugees, and trying to figure out how to. Well, I mean, another thing I'm doing is that a lot of the people here pan for gold for a living. It's part of their thing. Um, but they don't use magnets, and they don't use snuffer bottles. So 40 to 60% of the gold is fine. So they're making enough money to barely survive, but they're throwing 40 to 60% of their income back in the river. So I'm trying to raise some money to get snuffer bottles, and I can't find magnets here. Like, we were in Tena today looking everywhere for magnets. So There's like these little things that you can do to help entire communities, just because they don't have an awareness, to prosper. And what I was getting at with all that is, people that really are, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. If you have way more than you need, and you're not contributing to, either the people that need it or the people that are doing something to help the people that do, then you need to just shut up. I mean, it's the mentality that we have, in Western culture is completely insane. That like somehow billionaires are just entitled to have billions of dollars. I think is purely the product of. Yeah, Fernando, I've been thinking about speakers too. Like I could get some old speakers and just like bust the magnets out of them and break them into little pieces and hand them out or something. But seriously, something that simple, like a thousand snuffer bottles and a thousand magnet chunks, distributed in this province would change the lives of a lot of families, because they pick the flakes of gold out of their pans, and then they throw everything else back, and probably closer to 60% of it is fine gold. So they're losing more than half their income because they just don't know any better. And so, just stuff like that I'm down here trying to do. So what I'm saying is, we've been demonetized and our super chat doesn't even work. So if you want to support us, you have to go to, the email in the description, and Zelle or PayPal, the contribution. I thought I did see another question, but it's weird. It says like chat has been disconnected, and it is gone. I don't see it. So if you guys are communicating with me, I guess I'm just not gonna see it. Oh, there we go. It's back. Okay. Yeah, so totally. If you guys can support us, please do, because I feel like we're genuinely down here doing good work. And when I facilitate, ceremonies, a lot of people generally will just people show up, they drink the medicine, and then they're gone. It really has become, even like the well-intentioned people I've noticed really are. It's just a business. What does a magnet do for gold? When you're panning for gold, you have a lot of hematite, and it's called black sand. And the really fine gold, you can't separate it, or it's very difficult to separate it. So you'll, use the magnet to pull all of the hematite and other magnetic metals out so that you can filter the. Um, I mean, I'm not an expert. This is just, my basic understanding of it. But it's basically how you clean the black sand in the bottom of your pan so that you can get the fine gold. First LSD experience. First of all, make sure it's not some nasty research chem. Second of all, I have your email, so I'll send you a playlist. When is this gonna happen? I'll try to send it tonight. I'll send you a playlist that will blow your mind. If it's bitter, it's a spitter. That is correct. LSD is, colorless, odorless, and tasteless. Okay, okay, Fernando. Well, I'll send it tonight before I go to bed. Yeah, just make sure that the source is good. I wouldn't go outside in the daytime and just walk around looking at stuff so much as just closing your eyes in a dark space, maybe listening to music. Uh, um, I wouldn't go into any crowded public places that can freak you out. Um, I don't know how much meditation and breath work you do. I mean, source is super shady. We have no. Okay, well, that's not great. But it's not the end of the world either. I mean, what do you mean they're super shady? Like you don't even know them, or like what are you talking about? I mean, that's not. I understand you're in Cuba, and it's not really like easy to. So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, going in like it's a good idea to like sit Indian style, meditate, breathe deep, relax. Uh, friend of a friend is better than just the street. Or well, it's still the street, I guess. I mean, I don't know, man. No, he can't get it on the dark net. I don't think in Cuba. Um, okay, so obviously I'm really tired. I hear my voice kind of going out. But I feel like there's something. Oh, I want to tell you guys this one, man. Fernando, I think you might have sent me this link, uh, and I've been suspicious of this for a long time. But it appears that the idea of calcifying your pineal gland is complete bullshit, and the reality is that if the pineal gland has some capacity for receiving signals from the nth dimension or telepathy or has some a role in facilitating precognition, it is because of the calcium crystals that are supposed to be there. That's what's in your pineal gland. And they have a piezoelectric effect that makes them receptive to energy. So um, it's just another one of those things, that like pop culture, spirituality, people just make shit up and then it goes viral and it's just stupid. Another one is that DMT is released when you're born and when you die. Um, that was just something that Rick Strassman theorized. It has never been tested. Uh, Another one is the breathing techniques that everyone is. I saw a video that had like 1 million views. The guy's like, yeah, just do this breathing technique and you'll release enough DMT to have a breakthrough. No, you won't. There's not enough DMT in your entire body at any given time to have a psychedelic effect. Even if you got it all like processed somehow all at once, it's still not enough to do anything. So don't buy any of those courses. Oh man. Yeah, Volkish. My dad last night, man, he's like, "What are you doing in the Amazon?" And I was like, "Well, I'm facilitating ayahuasca ceremonies." And then I started telling him about the house that we just kind of got for free and the Warani people from my childhood down the river and stuff, from the books. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard about that stuff. It's just dope. It just might as well be me smoking PCP in the '70s." And I was like, "Man, that's got to be one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard in my entire life." Well, psychedelics can be blamed for psychosis if you're predisposed to mental illness, but the research has conclusively established that if you are not predisposed to mental illness, you will not, it will not trigger it. Roger Waters and LSD, I'm not even sure what. Um, okay, so the one other thing I wanted to remind you guys about, because I'm always talking about how uh, crypto is the way, man. What we have to do is change the balance of power, and the same people that own the big banks are the military industrial complex puppeteers as well, and draining their resources is amazing. So um, that's kind of what's happening with crypto. The banks, I don't remember what the market cap is right now, like 1 point something trillion. Um, that's a significant number. And uh, just in the last couple of days, with very small amounts of money. I mean, I fucked up today. XRP Ripple coin. It went up 10% before we left for 10 this morning. By the time I come back, it was up 50%. There's no such thing as investments like that in the um, like stock market and gold, and this just almost never going to happen. And this is every day. I think the worst asset in my portfolio last night did 25% or something, and that's not monthly. It's not annually. It's last night. It's in 12 hours, and this is consistent. Um, a little bit of fluctuation, but I'll tell you guys right now how you can do this with very little risk and make a lot of money in the month of April. You have to buy EOS. That might take longer than just April, but that's a sleeping giant. Cardano is there's a little bit less heat on that one than we were thinking maybe because of Ethereum, and Vitalik or whatever that kid's name is, he's done some kind of dickhead shit, and this is where we get our power as a collective. We must learn to breathe in union so as to survive another day, and acting in union is what I really mean by that. I'll get in more into which cryptos look promising, but let me follow this thought out here. Uh, because of Metcalfe's law, which tells us that active nodes determine the value of a telecommunications network, uh, we can decide which protocol is going to create wealth and distribute it. So, if we collectively all decide, like the pump and dumps that Redditors are doing, it's without the dumping. Um, and so, for example, because of Ethereum's move, which hurt our Cardano uh, um, investors and a couple of other coins, and it really wasn't necessary. It was just sort of a vicious capitalistic, what's up, Big C, uh, shithead move. A lot of us are just dumping all of our Ethereum, even though it's bullish as hell right now. It's doing well, um, but we really have to be dedicated to a certain standard of conduct and and punish people and institutions that do not act in a way that's consistent with the conscious revolution standard. You know. And so Ethereum, is a good bet right now, but a lot of us are unhappy with their ethics protocol at the moment, and so we're dumping a lot of that. Tron has been, I haven't looked since I got home, but it's gone up 25% every day all week, and it's expected to continue to do so for a few weeks. I think they're expecting it to stop around like 30 cents or something, and I think it's at like 0.19 right now. So you still have, a little bit. Yeah, Ethereum is up 300 bucks in the past 2 weeks. Actually, since I was looking at it, it was at 1600 when I bought it. I've dumped almost all of it because they're the what do you call it? The founder or whatever, the CEO. I don't know what his title is. He's acted like a dick, so we're dumping Ethereum. Yeah, Sid Barrett. But again, Valkish, it's not, if you're predisposed to mental illness, then yes, psychedelics will trigger potentially psychosis, but they do not cause psychosis. Um, if it was if just taking a lot of like LSD made you insane, I would be stark raving mad. I mean, when I'm in a band in the States, I'll eat LSD, and I mean high doses, more or less, almost every other day if I'm practicing a lot. Not super high doses, but it's not any kind of threat to your sanity. In fact, it's building your brain and balancing your being, and it's not really a concern. If you're abusing something to the point where you are, where it's asinine, then sure, you're going to suffer. It doesn't matter what it is. But it's definitely true that psychedelics do not represent a danger to mental health. In fact, the opposite is true. And they were not banned because the researchers in the early 60s told the government that they were dangerous and that they needed to protect people. They were banned because the researchers told the government that they cured every neurological aberration known, oftentimes in a single dose. Big Pharma got wind of this and told them, send motherfuckers with guns right now and shut them the fuck down now. That's what happened. The government is not there to protect you. That's it. Like, get that through your head. That's not what they're for. I mean, I know you guys probably already know that, but it's totally true. Um, okay, so we talked about, let's see, a lot of people are talking about Safe Moon right now, but the ones that I know for sure are safe and are going to perform are Link, Cardano, Ethereum, although, the fees, unless you have a lot of money to invest, like if you're working with smaller amounts, every time that you buy, sell, swap, you have transaction fees and stuff that make it difficult to make a profit if you're not dealing with big numbers. EOS is potentially a big one. XRP is rallying like crazy. I mean, if you have a few bucks, I would grab that one right now when we get off this live stream. Uh, um, and Tron uh, are very solid bets. Genesis is another one. Um, but okay, guys, I have to get back to work because I have to. I'm exhausted. The ceremony the other night went till 5 o'clock in the morning, and it took a lot out of me. So um, we'll talk again soon. Thank you guys so much for spending this time with me, and good night.